We asked them to summarize their experiences of the last couple of days, and they will share that with you. So, who of you wants to go first? Okay. You said the turtle wants to go first.
Beauty before age.
What are you going to tell in the US?
What's that?
What are you going to tell back in America? I went to Holland and
I went to Holland and
I went to the stadium.
I found out that you don't all wear wooden shoes. Come on, I thought I was going to show up this week and I was just going to hear and everywhere around. You know, I live in West Michigan, which was a Dutch colony in America. So it's the most, like, geographically, we have cloudy skies, it's very flat, really rich farmland, sheep, everything. Tulips grow beautifully in May. And so we have a very rich Dutch heritage. My wife's last name was De Bar. Her grandparents are Hugenworth and Triesenberg. And there's a Hoekstra in there. So we've got and so it's really interesting for me because her grandparents were very old now. Actually, her grandfather lives in the same home as Diet Eamon. And so when I go visit him, I get to see her. And, you know, he still can speak Dutch because his parents were Dutch. They came over. And so it's really special to me, especially to get to be a part of this. My wife and I went on a holiday to Amsterdam 4 years ago. And we went home thinking, oh yeah, we know all about Dutch now. We went to Amsterdam. We drank out of the canal. It was called Heineken. We're okay with that joke, right? We all agree. Everybody thinks like the real Dutch beer is Heineken. It's like, no. What is it called? What was that IPA that I had? So this has been really special. A few things that I noticed on this trip. You guys have the little designs down so well. There's such a design culture, at least in Eindhoven. But just thinking through the little things in life to make it a little bit better. I don't know if you notice it because you're just immersed in it. But from the big light switches, it's nice to be able to just hit the wall and you're probably going to hit a light switch. The toilets are really nice. I'm not going to go into detail, but there's a few small details about the toilets that I really like. Do you think they're horrible?
US toilets.
Oh, US toilets, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, don't talk about our toilets. You can talk about our president, but not our toilets. So, no, this has been wonderful as far as the people go and the food. I don't know if I'm just eating at really good restaurants or not, but just the food has been fantastic. And then the culture. What's really interesting to me is that there's such a culture difference here, if that makes sense. Like there's just a feel that you can just feel by being around people here. And it's not just because we're at this innovative group. It's everybody I've interacted with, from the people at my hotel. We just got this epic tour of the football field, the ground down there, and he explained every single player that's ever played. And he was like about to weep when he's talking about Ronaldo and the greatness of Ronaldo. And I'm like, is that Cristiano? No, not that Cristiano Ronaldo. Is that Ronaldinho? No. And so there's just this pride that comes with being here, and it's just been such a joy to be a part of it. Now, as far as this conference, this has been a life-changing experience for me. What I love more than anything, and I've been telling you guys about it, is that there is such a respect for teachers in this group, or educators in this group. We're not treated like teachers, if that makes sense. We're treated like designers and artists and creative types and innovators and CEOs and CFOs and all these things that seem to carry status more than educators, at least in my culture. But here it's no, we're going to sit down, we're going to collaborate, we're going to get frustrated, we're going to talk, we're going to ideate, we're going to present our ideas proudly. And that's been what I want to take home with me, is I want to work with the different staff members in my own school and the ones that I go and speak with, and just remind them that you are a creative type. You know what I mean? You have the ability to create something in what you're doing in your schools. And because so often it's not happening. Are you with me? You know, and so often it's about you have a prescription to go in here and deliver content so that they can receive that content and regurgitate it and move on. And here it's about like, hey, let's have our students create the content. You know what I mean? Let's have them actually do something with it. And that's what it's just been so amazing. The first 2 days here, there seemed to be a little bit of tension and frustration throughout the different rooms, and I thought it was all good. Remember, conflict is good. And it was like my head hurt at the end of each day because you're kind of listening in and you're trying to give feedback, and it's just like, well, we want to do this and this is where we want to go, but we don't know how to fill in this big gap here. We don't know how to create what's going to happen there. And then today has just been fireworks. Do you agree? Yeah. Like it's like it's come together today. Like, and which is the beauty of your guys' process, because you know, when you follow the design process, the launch process, there is an outcome at the end. And oh man, I'm hearing these different ideas of the publisher group and what they're trying to create, so to make project-based design thinking, learning accessible to everybody. Like that was birthed here today, at the last 3 days. When I hear about, I can't make eye contact, find them. When I think about the project-based learning and foreign language, where are you at?
You.
Oh, no. I think you called, yeah,
There's more than one.
you talked to the guy.
Oh, is he gone?
Yeah, he had to go earlier. Yeah.
Oh man, he's connecting with like a tech company from China who has a real problem about convincing consumers in Holland that it's not Chinese like crap and that it's actually good products. And so he's going to have his foreign language, or teaching English as a second language class, create something like a whole marketing packet for a technology company. And it's like, I've never thought of doing that. Like no, like in foreign language project-based learning, which is my thing, it's just not really a thing. And throughout all of this process, that came together today. That's beautiful. And I've just heard so many more other ideas like that. Ideas I want to take and steal and use in my own practice. The career project you all drew. Y'all. You and all combined. The career project you're doing is just brilliant. And I'm going to do it starting next week. Like, I have these seniors that I want them to have some job skills, like interviewing, resumes, cover letters, all that. And I didn't know how to tie it into a project. And I really was going to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go a month without doing project work. I do that sometimes. And now I don't have to, because they have a brilliant idea that I took pictures of. It's all in Dutch, so it doesn't do anything for me. I'll have my wife's grandpa translate it for me. And so I've got ideas, I've got inspiration, I feel loved. This is just a really warm group. So yeah, this has been really good. I took a few notes. I think I said most of it though. I'm not a notes kind of guy. Whenever my son isn't eating dinner, I always say to him, Jack, if you don't eat, I'm going to go and make you eat pea soup. And he's always like, and he eats. And I had pea soup, and it's quite delicious. Yeah, pea soup is good. Americano coffee does not taste like American coffee. You all have this amazing ability to collaborate. I don't know if it's a culture here in Holland. I don't know if it's just been cultivated in this room, but there's a lot of really great collaboration. I saw people disagreeing with each other this week. That's great. And people handle it really well. There wasn't a lot of stomping out. And so collaboration is strong. I just didn't see people sitting on their phones all the time, and that's just refreshing. That people weren't just sitting on their laptops every time there was a break in between sessions. Instead, it was, hey, let's just keep talking about this project, or let's talk about something else. And so it was beautiful to see this disconnected and a new type of connection, or it's actually an old type of connection that we're returning to. Yeah. So this has rocked my world, and I appreciate you having me here. It's really been an honor and a pleasure, and I would love to come back. So thank you very, very much for having me.
I got out of my seat as quickly as possible so that I could walk up into applause. Which is why aren't you starting the slow clap now? So I want to begin by telling two seemingly unrelated stories. And one of them is about Yachim, the name that can't be named. He's like Voldemort with because he's he who cannot be named since I can't pronounce it. Some of you are like, who's this Voldemort guy you're talking about?
What's his name?
So apparently, I don't know how to put in a screw. I almost came across the wrong. I almost said I don't know how to screw, and it's something totally different. Yeah. So I don't know how to put in a screw, and he teased me and said, I thought you were a maker. And it's funny because I don't do engineering well, and I taught engineering only because nobody else could, and nobody else would. I taught STEM and told them I'm not a STEM teacher. I'm a history guy. I love design, but I'm not a maker. I actually would say I'm not a maker. It's not ideal. It takes, according to the instructions, it was supposed to take 2 hours to put together something from IKEA. And it took us 2 days, and then we put it in the dumpster. Because, not because we hate the Swedes, but because there's no way possible to be able to put together crap from IKEA. And so I define myself as not necessarily being like that, right? But on the flip side, I've learned to embrace STEM by understanding what I don't know and growing. So every time we did an engineering project, and that was often, and I hit a place where I couldn't solve something, I would have to find somebody who could, an expert that they could talk to. And I bring this up because I think we often hear, I'm not a blank. I'm not an engineer. I'm not an artist. I hear, I'm not an artist all the time for my students. In the US, we have a term, the creative type. And I'll hear people say, I'm not a creative type. And that is, quite honestly, bullshit. Because there is no such thing as a creative type. And there is no such thing as someone who's an engineer, or an artist, or an architect, because if we are educators, we are all of the above. And what I loved about this particular experience is it was a chance to watch people become architects and engineers and artists all at the same time. And to me, that was incredibly powerful to watch. Second story has nothing to do with this, and everything to do with a particular student. I taught a girl named Alejandra. She was shy. Her grandpa had just gotten deported, and she did not want to be in school. Sorry. And she would say almost nothing, but she did amazing work. And we were trying to solve the problem of graffiti. Sorry. And she said, she led the team, and I watched her in the design team she was in finally speak up for the first time ever. And they came up with the concept of a mural. Sorry, guys. And I was so scared for her because she had finally, as a 7th grader, opened up and come up with something bold and different, and I was so scared of what would happen to her work. What would it mean if it got vandalized? And so I watched her through 7th grade, I watched her through 8th grade, and then she was a part of our 9th grade team that we were working with. And she was part of the after-school program, so this wasn't even in school. She was mentoring the younger students who were coming in and working, and she was across the street at our high school. And I remember she was the one who said, when at the end of the 3rd year, the murals got painted over, she was the one who said, why bother if they're just going to paint over it? Why bother blogging if it's just going to be, she was ready to make everything private. She was ready to not launch. And my fear for her had been confirmed. The murals were done. We were finished. But she regained that creative confidence, and through high school, she started to do theater. She continued to do art. She continued to write, and writes beautifully now. And she became a teacher. And then she became a teacher at that same school. And then this last year, she sent a message on Facebook. And she said, look at what my kids did. And it was what had been a blank white wall. It was a new mural. Sorry. This is why I didn't tell the rest of the story. So I bring this up because the lesson there is that every creative work you do is temporary. If you are right now feeling like your work is unfinished, it is. But it will always be unfinished. It will always be an iteration. It is always iterative. That is the way products work. And if it's not, then you've gone stale. Murals get painted over, blog posts get deleted, books go out of print. But the one piece that remains is that human connection. I said before, it's not about the product, and it's not. And it's not even about the process you learned. But it's about the people. And it's about the deeply human connection and the impact that you get to have. So I would encourage you, as you think about what's going on here. I saw amazing ideas. Same thing, I was like, wow, I wanted this publishing thing for my classroom. Whoa, that's so much better than the way we ran Shark Tank projects to create a company. I love that concept. And this was happening all the time. And I hit a place where I was super excited about ideas. But the reality is I would encourage you to let this be the beginning of a community. To remember that it's not about what you're creating, it's about the people who you got to create something with. Some of you didn't get to design the idea that you came in hoping you would get to design. And you might think to yourself, well, that's cool because I got to learn a new process. But I would encourage you to take it to the next level and say, are these people that I could work with again? Could it maybe be the start of a collaboration? I've gotten to work with Trevor, and we met at a conference. And we hung out. We had beers. We shared meals.
And more beers.
And more beers. And Grand Rapids is like the beer capital of the US, so we had plenty. And then we met each other the next year and became closer friends. We've only, this is what, the third time we met in person? We've done great projects together. So the bottom line is, it's about the people. It's about the continuing connections of the people that you met and how you can continue to do the work together. And that's ultimately the big takeaway. I would encourage you to really think hard about how you can view yourself as a designer, as a maker, as an architect, as an engineer, as all of the above. And then to also think about how you can connect with people who are even stronger at engineering, or stronger at architecture, or stronger at art. And then in the process, how you together can go out and make something that's totally badass. And that's it. Sorry I cried.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Both of you, for all 3 days. So can I get another round of applause for you? You know, when I drove here this morning, there was this song in my head. And actually, I hate the artist, David Bowie. When he died, I was like cheering.
Is that okay?
He has that song. He has that song. It is "We Can Be Heroes Just for One Day." And I thought of everyone I spoke over these 3 days, and I thought, we cannot be heroes just for one day. We have been heroes for 3 days, and I think we can be heroes for forever. And it's so amazing to see the connections that have been made over these 3 days. Jochem and I were talking to each other. I almost have not seen a phone. No laptops. That's insane. Every conference I visit, in the Netherlands also, always laptops and phones. And me myself also, I'm always on my phone, on my laptop, because I'm bored, you know. But I hope that this means that you were not bored of this. Maybe you were just... So, the start of a community, that's what John ended with. And I think that's great. We don't have a solution for a community, but does a community needs a solution? Yesterday we were talking, are we going to start a Microsoft Teams or a Facebook group or whatever? No, we're not going to do that. Actually, we have a different idea, and that idea is that we want to follow up. We would like to organize other conferences. For us, this was the first time, but I think for us it was a big success, and I hope for you too. But we also would like to visit you afterwards to see what progress you have made with the things you have started off here, and which other connections we can make out of that. So we would like to visit, of course if you want it yourself, to visit you and to make a portrait of the things you are doing at that moment and share them with the rest of the group. So we can keep each other updated. And then hopefully next year we can come back together again and share it in person. I'm from the active ways of learning, right? So I would like you to ask, to stand up if you would like to do this over again. Nobody. I would like you to sit down if you would recommend this to your colleagues.
Well, if I recommend it to them, then they might come in my place.
And I would like you to stand up if you like the idea of us visiting you, making portraits, and trying to maintain this community and keep in contact with each other. So please stand up if you think that's a good idea. I heard good luck in my... Yeah, you don't know us. That's the thing we do, right? We keep people connected, and good luck, it's going to happen. So we're going to prove you wrong. So, while we're standing, I also want to give a standing ovation to some people. First off, our facilitators, Sita. Those guys make designing magic happen. Yeah. I want to give a round of applause to our design team, Evelyn, Harm, and Sebastian. While we were there half a year ago, we couldn't imagine it would be like this. So, a round of applause for ourselves. The most important part of 3 days is the ball. So, what we would like to say is everything that has been done here, the keynotes were filmed, we can share them with you, and there are PowerPoint slides and stuff like that. You will receive an email this week with all the information in it, and you have the physical stuff, like posters and things over there, so you can take them with you, and you can implement them in your work and show your colleagues. Please show your colleagues what you have been doing. What? What?
The bus.
Oh, the bus. Bus. The magic bus. The bus will be leaving at 5. So we have 1 hour to get totally wasted. There you go. Thank you so much for these 3 very inspiring days. Thank you.
Dat is allemaal.